The coffee shop near the auto garage wasn't much. 2 tables by the window, the rest cluttered with tired chairs and people who never stayed long. I came here because it was quiet, or maybe because I was. Every Thursday, I sat at the same spot left corner, near the humming espresso machine. I'd scroll through my phone without really reading anything, typing messages I never sent.
Yeah, it's fine.
Maybe next week. They just sat there in drafts like promises I never meant to keep. That morning, the door swung open with the usual jingle, and she walked in. Grace under her nails, hair pulled back, uniform shirt half tucked, sleeves rolled up like she'd forgotten to care. She went straight to the counter and laughed at something the barista said. An easy, bright sound that didn't belong in a place that smelled like burnt coffee and tired plans. That laugh did something to me. Not in the dramatic, movie way. More like something shifted. The kind of shift you only notice when it's gone. She noticed me staring, or maybe half looking. "You're in here early," she said as she passed my table, carrying her cup. I could say the same. I don't know why I said that. She smiled, paused, then sat at the next table. I'd seen her before, at the garage across the street. She worked there, mechanic, I guessed. Once, she'd helped an older man push his stalled car into the bay, sleeves rolled high while the others just watched. I remembered her laugh then, too. It wasn't loud, it was warm. She set down her coffee and sighed, the sound of someone who's already done too much before 10 a.m. "You always type that much?" she asked, nodding at my phone. "Old habit," I said. "Helps me think. Doesn't look like you send them, though." I glanced at the screen, surprised. She wasn't wrong. I folded my napkin just to do something with my hands. "You're observant. Occupational hazard." She lifted her cup. "You'd be surprised what people confess when their car won't start." That made me laugh, soft and unexpected. She tilted her head at the sound, like she was cataloging it. For a moment we didn't talk. The coffee machine hissed. Someone dropped change near the counter. Outside a bus went by, shaking the window. Ordinary noises. Still, I felt like I was waiting for something. She leaned back. "You live around here?" "Just moved into a place nearby. Temporary. Figuring things out." "Everyone's figuring things out," she said. "Even the ones who pretend they're not." Her eyes lingered a second longer than polite. Brown, with tiny oil flecks near the lashes, like the color got mixed wrong and came out better. I wanted to ask her name, but the question felt too heavy. Instead I said, "Coffee here's not great." "Neither's mine at the shop," she said. "But we drink it anyway, keeps the hands busy." She stood, gathering her things. The chair scraped softly against the floor. "You'll figure it out," she said. "Whatever it is." Her smile wasn't a promise. More like a gentle permission to keep trying. She left, the door chime echoing behind her. I sat there until my coffee went cold, scrolling through the unsent messages again. My reflection in the dark phone screen looked different. Awake, maybe. Just as I stood to leave, the screen lit up. A new message. Unknown number. "If your car ever starts making that noise again, stop by the shop. I didn't own a car. And for the first time in a long while, my Thursday didn't feel empty. The next Thursday, I crossed the street to the garage. I told myself I was curious about the noise my car might be making, but the truth was simpler. I just wanted to see her again. The place smelled of oil and old rain, metal, dust, and something faintly citrus from a bottle of cleaner sitting open on a counter. She was there, bent over an engine. Sleeves rolled high, hair loose today. There was a smudge on her cheek that somehow looked deliberate. "You're early," she said without looking up. "Thought I'd take you up on that offer." She wiped her hands on a rag and glanced at me, amused. "You don't even have a car." "I borrowed one," I said, too quickly. She smiled like she saw right through it. I followed her to the work bay. She didn't rush. Everything she did was precise, almost gentle, like the car was something alive that could bruise. She handed me a wrench. "Hold this." The metal was warm from her hand. I tried not to think about it. "So what are you figuring out?" she asked after a while. I shrugged. "Graduated last spring. Thought I'd feel different by now." "That's the lie they sell you," she said, tightening a bolt. "You think life's waiting after graduation, but it's already been happening the whole time." She said it like someone who'd learned the hard way. I wanted to ask, but she changed the subject before I could. Coffee later, she said, straightening up. You look like you could use one that doesn't taste like regret. We walked to the corner shop. This time she sat across from me. I noticed her hands, small scars, chipped nail polish, a ring mark on one finger where something used to be. You married? I asked before I could stop myself. She said it lightly, but her gaze stayed on the steam curling from her cup. Didn't stick. I nodded, unsure if sorry was the right word. And you? She asked. Too good at endings, I said. Bad at beginnings. That made her laugh again, quiet this time. You're young, you'll get worse at both. We sat in a silence that wasn't awkward, just full, the kind that asks you to stay a little longer. When we finally stood, she brushed her thumb against the sleeve of my jacket, wiping away a small streak of grease. It was nothing, a practical gesture. Still, I felt it long after she pulled her hand away. You missed a spot, she said softly, pointing to her own cheek, where the smudge still was. We both laughed. The sound echoed longer than it should have. Later, walking home, I kept thinking about that touch, light as it was. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because, for the first time in a long while, it felt like someone finally saw me. I started finding excuses to stop by the shop. A rattle in the dashboard, a tire that felt off, none of it real, but she always humored me. Again, she teased one afternoon, wiping her hands on her coveralls. You drive like you're trying to make me rich. Maybe I'm just trying to learn something, I said. About cars, maybe. She looked at me then. Really looked. Like she heard what I didn't say. It was raining outside, soft and steady. The garage doors were half open, letting in the smell of wet asphalt. I could hear the radio from another bay. An old love song played too quietly to be background. We stood there, both pretending to be occupied. Her sorting tools, me tracing the grooves on the workbench. Every few seconds our eyes caught, then looked away. I thought about asking her to grab lunch, or coffee, something, but before I could, a voice broke the air. Mum. A young woman, maybe my age, stood at the entrance, umbrella dripping onto the concrete. Same eyes, same tilt of the head. My stomach dropped. The mechanic, her, froze just long enough to notice that I'd noticed. This is Emma, she said finally, clearing her throat. My daughter. I nodded too fast, said something that didn't sound like words. Emma smiled politely, scanning between us, curiosity flashing just long enough to sting. She left after a minute, leaving rain puddles and silence behind her. The mechanic, Mara, turned back to her work without speaking. Her hands were too careful, her shoulders tight. I didn't know, I said quietly. You weren't supposed to. I didn't mean. I know. She looked up. You should head out. Roads'll get slick. Her voice wasn't cold, just pulled back. Like she'd remembered something she was supposed to forget. I wanted to stay, to explain that it wasn't about age or what anyone thought. It was about the way she laughed, the quiet between sentences, the way her presence steadied things. But words felt heavy and wrong, so I nodded, stepping toward the door. The rain hit harder now, drumming against the awning. I hesitated. She didn't move. Then, as I turned, she called out, softer, "Hey." I looked back. You really don't drive that badly, she said. Her mouth almost smiled, but her eyes didn't. I walked toward her, close enough to smell the faint scent of oil and soap on her skin. We both stood there, neither sure what came next. My hand brushed hers when I handed back the rag I'd been holding. It wasn't even a touch, just the space between one. But her breath caught, and mine stopped. For a second the world felt very small. Just the two of us, rain, and a silence that said more than anything we could. Then she stepped back, folded her arms. Go home, kid, she said quietly. I almost laughed. Almost said something reckless. Instead, I walked out into the rain, heart thudding against what almost was. I stopped going by for a while after that. Told myself it was better that way, that I'd imagined most of it. The warmth in her voice, the pauses that lingered too long. But it didn't stick. Thursday came again, and I found myself outside her shop, hands in my pockets, pretending to check the time. She was locking up. The light behind her made her hair look almost gold where it escaped the tie. When she saw me, she didn't look surprised, just tired. Did your imaginary car break again? She asked. Something like that, I said. Thought I'd walk you to the bus stop. I drive. she said, then softened. But sure. We walked down the quiet street. The day was ending, sky gray, the air carrying the smell of rain that hadn't decided to fall yet. Her steps were slow, deliberate. I matched them. For a while, neither of us spoke, just the sound of her keys brushing against her hand. Then she said, "Emma thinks you're cute." That caught me. "Oh, she's 23. Studies architecture. She said you should come by sometime." There was something in her tone. A test, maybe. I tried to laugh it off. I'm not great with houses. She smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. "You're not great with boundaries either." The words landed softly but stayed heavy. I wanted to say I didn't mean to cross anything, that I just liked her company. But all that came out was, I didn't think we had any. She stopped walking. The streetlight flickered above us. "Mara," I said. Her name still felt new in my mouth. She looked at me then, really looked. The kind of look that strips all pretense away. "This isn't," she started, then sighed. "You're young. I should know better." "You do?" I said. "That's kind of what I like about you." She laughed once, quietly, not the bright laugh I first heard, but something smaller, more fragile. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I might believe them." We stood there, the words hanging between us. A car passed, its headlights sweeping over us, then gone. She looked down, then back up, her eyes glimmering in the half-light. "I keep thinking," she said, "that maybe I miss who I was before life started happening. And sometimes, when we talk, I almost feel like her again. It's nice, too nice." Her voice cracked slightly, and I felt something twist in my chest. "I don't want to make things harder for you," I said. "You already have," she whispered. Silence again, long, quiet, necessary. I reached for her hand, just barely, a half motion, no contact. She didn't pull away. Didn't move at all. "Tell me," I said, "should I stop coming by?" Her eyes flickered, searching mine. The streetlight buzzed once, then dimmed. She opened her mouth, breathed in like she might answer. And then the rain finally started. The rain that night didn't stop for hours. By morning everything smelled like rust and wet concrete. I didn't see her for a week. Then another. The shop lights were on, but the front door stayed locked. I told myself she was busy, that it was nothing. Still, every time I passed, I slowed down, just enough to check if she was there. She wasn't. One Thursday, I finally asked the barista across the street, the woman from the garage. "Mara, she okay?" The girl nodded. "Think she took some time off. Something about her ex." That word hit different. Ex, like a door I didn't know existed, had just closed quietly. I told myself I didn't care, that what we had was only conversation. Long silences pretending to be something else. But at night, I caught myself replaying small things, her voice saying my name, her hand brushing my sleeve, the look she gave me when she didn't want to. 2 weeks later, I saw her again. Late afternoon, sun low, dust floating through the open bay. She was bent over an engine, hair coming loose, face set in focus. Same as always, yet something felt different. When she looked up, she froze for half a second before managing a smile. "You're still around," she said. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be. She hesitated. "Sorry I disappeared. Things got complicated." "With your ex?" I shouldn't have said it. The word came out too fast, too bitter. She leaned against the car, crossing her arms. "Is not really the point. We've got a daughter. Shared finances. Old things that don't stay buried." I nodded. "Makes sense." "It doesn't have to," she said quietly. "It just is." I watched her thumb trace the edge of her wedding ring mark. She still had the habit. Turning something that wasn't there anymore. She took a step closer. Close enough that I could smell the faint citrus cleaner again. "I didn't mean to make things messy." "They already were," I said. "You just made me notice." That earned me a look I couldn't read, soft, but defensive, like she wanted to reach out and run. Then she did something small. She handed me a rag, fingers brushing mine. Just a second, but it felt like an echo of everything we hadn't said. I almost told her I missed her. That I didn't know what we were, but I wanted it anyway. Instead, I said, "Your coffee's still terrible." She smiled, quick, careful. "Then stop coming by." I didn't answer. That night, I drafted a message. "You don't have to explain. I just like hearing your voice." I stared at it for a long time. then locked my phone. I didn't feel heartbroken, I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. It was late when I saw her again. The shop lights were off, but I could see her through the glass. Sitting on a stool near the counter, a single lamp throwing her face into half shadow. She looked smaller somehow. Or maybe just tired. I hesitated outside. My reflection in the window looked uncertain, hands buried in my jacket pockets, words jammed somewhere between my chest and my throat. I'd written the note days ago, folded neatly, tucked into my wallet. I didn't know if I'd ever give it to her. It wasn't even much. Just a few sentences that started with, "You don't have to say anything." I pushed the door open. The bell above it made her flinch, then soften when she saw me. "You again," she said. "You don't quit easily." "I do," I said. "Just not where it matters." That made her smile, faintly. She motioned toward the counter. I was closing up. "You can sit, if you want." The quiet felt thicker than usual. The smell of oil and soap, the faint hum of the old refrigerator, the occasional creak of the building, all of it felt heavier, like the place knew what was coming. "I keep telling myself this was nothing," she said suddenly. "Just coffee and talk. And I don't believe myself." Her voice broke slightly on the last word. She looked down, fingers twisting the edge of a rag. "You think I don't feel the same," I said. I tried staying away. It didn't work. "I'm not what you think I am," she said softly. "I'm not some story waiting to happen. I've made mistakes, I get tired, I forget birthdays. I don't want a story," I said. "Just this. Just." The sentence trailed off. Words failed the shape of what I meant. For a long moment, we just stood there, close but not touching. I could hear her breathing shallow and steady. She looked up, eyes glassy but calm. "I can't promise anything," she said. "I don't even know what this is." "Me neither," I said. "But it's real." Something shifted in her then. Her shoulders dropped, her hands unclenched. She stepped forward, close enough that her sleeve brushed mine. The small contact was electric, grounding everything. She reached out, touching my cheek just once, like she was testing if I was really there. Her thumb lingered near my jaw, then pulled back. "Okay," she whispered. "Not yes, no, just okay." I nodded because anything louder would have ruined it. When I left, I slid the note onto the counter beside her keys. She didn't see it at first. Out on the street, I looked back through the glass. She was unfolding it, reading slowly. Her hand went to her mouth, not to hide a smile, but something gentler. The rain started again, soft and steady. For once, I didn't mind walking home wet. It's been 6 months since that night. The note is still folded on her counter, soft around the edges now, a smudge of coffee near the corner. She never gave it back, never mentioned it either. But she didn't have to. I still go by the shop on Thursdays. It's routine now, quiet and ordinary. Sometimes I help with small things, replacing filters, sorting parts, fixing the dented cabinet door she swears she'll get around to someday. Other times, we just sit on the low brick wall outside, drinking coffee that's still too bitter. She laughs less loudly these days, but more easily. And when she does, she doesn't look away. Emma drops by sometimes. She teases her mom about the guy who hangs around. Mara rolls her eyes and tells her I'm just paying off a very long repair bill. Nobody believes it, but nobody says otherwise. It's enough. There's no title for what we are. We don't need one. Every now and then, when she closes up late, I walk her to her truck. We don't talk much. Just that easy quiet between two people who've already said what matters. Sometimes she reaches for my hand without looking. Sometimes I do. It's not every night, but enough that the absence of it means something. I moved into a new place a few blocks away. Still small, still temporary. But the shelves aren't empty anymore. Her thermos sits on one, next to a spare wrench she'd accidentally left behind. Life didn't turn into something cinematic. It just got steadier. That's the strange thing about peace. It doesn't arrive with music. It just shows up one morning and stays until you notice. Last week, she told me she was taking a day off. "A Thursday," she said, smiling. "You'll survive without Marilee," I said. This morning, she texted at 8:47 a.m. The same time I used to see her crossing the street with her first cup of coffee. "Garage is quiet today. Come over if you're bored." So I did. She was sitting outside, Sunlight on her face, a cup of tea balanced on her knee. I brought her the same coffee she always complained about, and she still took it anyway. For a long moment, we just sat there. No rush, no script, just two people who found a small, imperfect corner of calm in a noisy world. She looked at me over the rim of her cup and said, "Funny, isn't it? How things start." I said, "One wrong turn, one bad cup of coffee." She laughed, that same laugh from the first day, softer now, closer, and when she reached over to fix the crease in my sleeve, her hand stayed there just a little longer. I didn't say anything. Neither did she, we didn't need to. Because some stories don't end, they just settle.